the alienation of his own class. The mob followed in deep mourning dress, upper sash windows poised like guillotines, filled with bobbing mock caps, whilst damp handkerchiefs waved over the passing coffee. At the corner of Great George Street, a woman sat with bent head in her barouche, sobbing. On Oxford Street, John Clare stood with staff in hand, pack on back amongst the crowds, come to see a great sun set. His sea of waking dreams pulled like moon and tide between the landscape of his birth and this great city, where lords extol his verse. He observed the crowd with country eyes, an interpreter of distant weather, tree, field and flower. Progress of the hearse marked by the flutter of white lace along the upper casements, as doves exercise their wings about the dovecote. Drawn by the dark beauty of a young girl as she sighed and spoke, poor Lord Byron, he caught with empathy the edge of romance, heaved his heart, gave future value to the dead poet's work. The hearse suddenly upon them took the summer sun, shaded and presaged the shipwreck Byron would make of his persona. As a snake sheds its skin, so Clare would rave, shout, strut, posture and impersonate, use Charles Harold and Don Juan against women in the world within the cruel confines of his prison. All passed as a cloud. The young girl dried her tears. Satisfied Byron would have his place of merit, despite the reverend and the moral, John Clare hitched his pack, strolled off. Presumed a handsome thief made his last way to Tyburn Tree. Only as the hearse approached, he asked the dapper shopman, "More relics of Lord Byron, great poet, sir." Borrow marked the 3 morning coaches, counted the 47 empty, then considered. Milton in his blindness and poverty, Otway starving, butler consigned to bailiffs, all holding faith with that presumed belief, fame after death. Would Childe Harold and Don Juan suffice? I too, like in the boy one-eat mould, continued the dapper man, and frequently I am unhappy. Off the stones of the city of St. Pancras, mourners descended. Empty escutcheoned coaches returned to stabling. Alone, the hearse advanced on Highgate Hill. Mary Shelley pulled back the lace. Jane Williams, at her elbow, watched this advance. Heat of a cloudless July day. 6 Clydesdales, nod heads, mouths foam, black flanks streaked with dust, steam and glistened in sunlight, heave his dead weight uphill. Hardly a friend, Mary mused, but I am connected with him in 1,000 ways, not least his kindness on my sudden entry into widowhood. Yet in Pisa, the diplomacy of the sexes relegated us to mere observers of his male power. Exclusive dinners, shooting matches, drinking sessions, and literary discussions. Youth still preserves people in your heart forever. Again, I hear 2 inseparable voices close to the fire at Diodati. Byron's effete, dandified drawl. Percy's higher voice, squeaky with excitement, discussed primeval life, electric stimulation of the dead, Gothic tales. Those daily boat trips across the lake, Byron's Tyrolean hymn at sunset in harmony with wind and waves. Claire going to the villa at dusk to give herself to him. After their quarrel, secret boys hovering in twilight. Whispers of darkness would speak entirely to him in Venice with the full heat of the inferno. At Diodati, the hideous progeny was born not out of a void, but from the chaos of imagination in dark and shapeless dreams. This, when death and grief were but words, before I was cast upon shores of despair. Then beauty was on his countenance, power beamed from his eyes. There he goes. His coffin as a log tossed upon a turbulent stream. Last of my youth to people the grave. We shall not see their kind again. She let fall the lace. They sat in silence on the sofa with a pot of tea, a restrained tear in the eye. Outside the apothecary's shop, Coleridge received the illicit file of laudanum into cold and clammy hands, fumbled secretively with waistcoat pocket, concealed and coincided with the hearse-topping Highgate Hill. Brought hat to heart, bent grey head, watched intently, coffin approach and pass. Stepped into the rising cloud of dust, right hand raised in benediction. You call me drunkard? I wish it had been so. We two have gone so much since childhood, both fatherless. Your deformed foot cruelly forced into braces. A lame boy breathed a toast of literary London. Then marriage. What company you have here. Dante, Milton, and myself can each testify how discord and art are congruent beings. The deep shame of such intimate failure, whilst desire still fuels imagination, self-loathing, loss of children, to a life